Hey YouTube, this is Jaden Storm coming at you in Team Shadow Strike, and in this video I will be bringing you a new deck profile. This is my Ripple deck that is possible to be played now. Actually, the Ripples originally came out in set 11, which came out a long time ago, but the second clan booster for the second clan booster. Specifically this time for Aqua Force, gave the Ripples some new support that really make this deck viable. It makes it a pretty fun deck to play and can really frustrate the hell out of your opponent if you can get them into a proper flow. If you can get into the right game flow, it really is hard for them to deal with. But I wanted to build this deck because, to be honest, guys, I always liked Genovius. I mean, I like how he looks. I mean, the artwork was always really cool, but back when set 11 came out, he just really wasn't that good meta-wise. I mean, I played Dote Break Ride, and I also played the Aqua Force deck I played back then was Last Card Revan and Transcore, and that was better to me. So it just I didn't play Genovius, but I did always like how he looked, and with the clan booster of him getting a Revival Legion, him getting a Stride, him getting a couple new support cards, it really makes the deck viable now and a lot of fun to play. I'm going to be going through a couple of combos that you can do with the deck too. But I build this deck mainly for one of two reasons. One, it's just a lot of fun to play, and like I said, I've always liked Genovius. And two, there's a very close personal friend in my life, guys. If you remember the last time when I came back from making long videos, from a long time from making videos, I think it was a month, there was a certain someone in my life who really helped me through it. And I don't want to name them because I don't like mentioning people on my channel unless I have their permission, because I don't want to violate any of their, I guess, boundaries. But he really helped me out through it, and I've already, they know how much they mean to me, and this deck is kind of a I guess a salute to them for helping me through my hard time, because like a lot of the characters in this deck, they just remind me of him, and especially the ones that have blue hair, and that'll be a joke that he gets. But anyway, guys, thank you for checking it out. So let's just jump straight into this deck profile. For the starting Vanguard, we're playing starting Ripple Alex. So Alex is the first piece of this ride chain. His abilities are, when he's rode by the grade 1 of the ride chain, you get to look at the top 7 cards of your deck for a Pavroth or a Genovius, just like the old clan, ride chains used to do back in the day. And then his other skill is, if any other grade 1 besides Sotorio rides him, you get to slide him out to a rearguard circle. So, which also helps out another card in the deck, which I'll get to in a bit. So, starting Vanguard, we play as Alex. So, for the triggers, we play 4 Bubble Bazooka Draco Kid. And then we play 4 Ripple of Demise Orest. This is the Ripple crit trigger, and it's really, really good. Its ability is, at the end of the battle that this unit boosted, if you have two or more units with Ripple in its card name that are rested, you may pay the cost. If you do, look at the top 5 cards from your deck, search for one of the cards among them with the name Ripple in its card name, reveal it to your opponent, put it into your hand, and then shuffle your deck. So he boosts, look at the top 5, take a Ripple card, put it into your hand, and then shuffle your deck, and he will go on the bottom of the deck at the start. So essentially you get to put the crit back, which is really good because you'd rather have the crits in the deck. So you get to search out so essentially it's not a minus because he's going to replace himself more times than not, because most of this deck is Ripple anyway. And then for the rest, we play 4 Malika. Now, this is one debate for this deck. Some people play, I've seen 12 crits and no draws. I've seen 8 crits and 4 stands. I've seen 10 crits and 2 draws. It's kind of all over the place. The reason I play the draws is because this deck is designed to rush, but in my honest opinion, when you're building a rush deck, you need something that is going to continue the flow of the deck so you can continue to rush, and that's what draw triggers do. Sorry about that, guys. My PC was wanting to reboot itself. Can't have that. But anywho, I play draw triggers. Now you don't have to play the Margle clone or Malika, because she has an effect. She has the Margle effect where if she's on the rear guard, you can put her into your soul and give plus 3,000 to one unit. But if you can't find these, that's fine. Because to be honest, I don't use her effect that much. I just have her because have her there because she's an option, and also I think she's pretty. I think she's actually a little pricey at the moment. So anywho, I would play draws, but that's just me. And then I'm honestly also playing for heal triggers. So 8 crit, 4 draw, 4 heal. I might eventually test play stands if I get curious, but honestly, this version of it is working so well that I don't see the point of it. So for the grade 1s, we play 4 Silent Ripple Sortorio. Sortorio's effect is if you have a card named Starting Ripple Alex, which is the starter, in your soul, this unit gets plus 1,000 power, so while he's on your Vanguard circle, he becomes an 8K. And then also when a Aquaforce not named Rising Ripple Pavroth, which is the grade 2, rides this unit, if you have a card named Starting Ripple Alex in your soul, look at the top 7 cards from your deck and select one card among them called Rising Ripple Pavroth and ride it. So it has the ability to correct the ride chain. So if you were to ride, say, any other grade 2, you get to look at the top 7 and check again, and then re-ride. So it's there as an option, but when I show you the combo in the deck, you'll see why a lot of players, most of the time, they miss the ride chain on purpose for one specific reason. But you'll see why here in a minute. For Sentinels, I'm playing 2 copies of Blue Storm Guardian Dragonfall Icefall Dragon, so 2 Quintet Walls, and then 2 Battlestorm Battle Princess Electra for two perfect guards. A lot of different opinions on this one. Some people prefer playing 4 quintets. Some people play 3 perfects and 1 quintet. Some people play all perfect guards. There's no reason to play Perfect Guard Gs in this deck because you don't counterblast that much, to be honest. And plus the Quintet Walls, they just help fill up your drop zone for Legion. And so it's nice. This is just my opinion. I mean, if you want to play 4 Perfect Guards, there's nothing wrong with that. I just prefer having the 2 Quintets in this deck. It just works out better for me. And then the most broke grade 1 in the deck, 4 copies of Flash Ripple Odysseus. Odysseus, like I said, it is by far the best card in this deck. Its ability is while it's on the rear guard, once per turn, you can select one of your other rear guards and put it into your soul. Then you get to search your deck for up to 1 Ripple card in its card name that it has the same grade as your current Vanguard and ride it in the standing position. And then you shuffle your deck. Then if you road, you get to choose 1 card from your soul that is not named Flash Ripple Odysseus that has the same grade as your Vanguard and call it to the rear guard, and that unit gets plus 2,000 power. So you simply you get to correct. It's another way to correct your ride chain and fix the problem, and also you get a superior call out of it. You just can't, when you're using Odysseus' skill, you can't call Odysseus with Odysseus' skill because that would be stupid. But anyway, that and what really makes this card broke is if you have 3 Odysseus in your back row, you can use Odysseus' effect 3 times in 1 turn, which I don't see why you would, but if you do have multiple copies of Odysseus on the board, you can use the effect once per turn per Odysseus. So then for the last grade 1 is I play 2 copies of Dispatch Mission Seagull Soldier. So, Dispatch Seagull Soldier, I really like him because in this last slot, a lot of players are playing Light Signals Penguin Soldier, which is the Calamity Tower for Aquaforce, where when it's called, you Soul Blast 2 and draw a card. But I like this card because it's still a solid boost of 7,000. And also, whenever he's placed on the rear guard, you can Soul Blast 1 and give 1 rear guard plus 3,000 power. So if you're like having a 1 column that's just weak, you can call this and give it a boost and maybe make it hit numbers. His Generation Break ability, which by the way is the only Generation Break ability I play in this deck, it's at the end of the battle that this unit boosts. If it's on wave 4 or more, you get to put this card back into your hand. So it's good, but I just prefer it over Light Signal's Penguin Soldier. But that's just me. Now, if you weren't playing draw triggers and you were playing like 12 crits or 8 crits and 4 stands, then I would make them Light Signal's Penguin Soldier. But the way I decided to test this out, and I prefer this. Grade 2s. We're playing 4 copies of Rising Ripple Pavroth. So this is the grade 2 of our ride chain. So his ability is if you have a card named Silent Ripple Sortorio in your soul, this unit gets plus 1,000 power. So while he's on your Vanguard circle, he's 10,000. And then his Vanguard skill, which is really, really good. When this unit's attack hits a Vanguard, if you have a card named Silent Ripple Sortorio, which is the grade 1 again, in your soul, choose one of your Aqua Force rear guards and stand it. So he applies pressure because if your opponent lets his attack hit, they're going to have another attack to deal with. They'll either pick off another rear guard or will hit their Vanguard again. So he really helps with the rush factor. And then one of the other key cards to this deck that really helps the deck flow is 4 copies of Tidal Rescue Sea Turtle Soldier. This card is pretty simple, actually. Whenever he's placed on the Vanguard or the Rearguard circle, you get to look at the top card of your deck, and if the top card of your deck is a grade 1 or 2 Aqua Force unit, you may call it. Superior call it to the field. So it's pretty handy. You'll understand more of why this card's in here when I show you the combo video. 1 second, guys. I'm going to move this because I'm tired of listening to my phone vibrate. Sorry about that. And then for the last grade 2 is I play 4 copies of Unruly Ripple Lapis, I think is how you pronounce his name. So his ability is when he's on the rear guard, if this unit attacks and you have 2 or more other Ripple units that are rested, he gains plus 3,000 power until end of turn. Keep that in mind. It's plus 3,000 power until end of turn. So if he swings for 12 and then he restands, he still has that plus 3,000 power boost. So just keep that in mind. So for grade 3s, we play 3 copies of Thundering Ripple Genovius. Now, a lot of different opinions on this as well. It's not that I don't have 4 copies of Genovius, because I do, but I don't see the point of playing 4 because since this deck is a rush deck, you're not relying on your grade 3s normally to win this game, because normally if I'm riding to grade 3, it's because I have my opponent at 5 damage, they have like no field, barely any hand, and I'm finishing the game. Because it's your grade 2 rush that this deck provides that wins you the game. So there's no point in having all these copies of Genovius in my hand. By playing 3, I guarantee that I will be able to Legion when I want to. I'll be able to get off the Genovius' skill at least once, and it will at least be prevalent enough and more and easy to get. But Genovius' skill, his ability is Limit Break. At the end of the battle that this unit attacked a Vanguard, if the number of rested Aqua Force in your front row is 3 or more, you may Counterblast 2 and discard a copy of Genovius from your hand. And if you do, you may stand all of your Aqua Force rear guards. So for a cost of Counterblast 2 and Persona Blast, or discarding a copy of Genovius, you can stand all your rear guards. So you get 2 more attacks at full power. So that's really, really good. And then for the last grade 3, pretty obvious, we're playing 4 copies of Rolling Ripple Miltiades. So Miltiades is the card that is the Revival Legion for Genovius. So his ability is Legion, so return 4 cards to the deck, seek out the mate, and then you have an understood 21 during your turn, 22 if you have Pavroth in the Soul. Because, like Genovius, I forgot to mention, if you have a copy of Pavroth, the grade 2 in the Soul, he gets plus 1,000 power, making him 11,000. So then when you would be in Legion, you'd be 22. So, and then Miltiades' Legion skill is, when this unit is placed on the Vanguard, you may counterblast 1. If you do, look at the top 3 cards from your deck and add 1 Ripple card from your hand, 1 Ripple card from them to your hand, and then put the rest into the drop zone. So you're going, when you ride him, counterblast 1, look at the top 3 cards from your deck. Out of the 3 that you look at, if there's any ripples there, you get to put 1 of them into your hand, and the other 2 go into the drop zone, which helps you fill up the drop zone to pay the cost to return 4 when you're Legion. So it works out pretty good. And then his Legion skill, which is really, really good. So when he's in a Legion state, obviously, his ability is, when this unit attacks a Vanguard, if this unit is in Legion and you have 3 or more units that are rested in your front row, choose up to 1 of your rear guards and stand it and countercharge 1, which is, for those of you who may not know, countercharge 1 is, it's basically take 1 damage that is face down in your damage zone and turn it face up, so you unflip 1 damage. Then also, if you have 3 or more units that are in your back row and they are all rested, you may draw a card. So he in Legion, you basically get 3 effects. Well, 4 if you count Genovius. You get to stand 1 rear guard, draw a card, and stand a unit, draw a card. Wait a minute. Yeah, you get to stand 1 unit, draw a card. Well, yeah, 3 effects. I misspoke, guys. So when you're at Legion, you technically have access to 3 abilities during that turn to use with your Vanguard. When he attacks, he's going to stand 1 rear guard. If you have 3 units in the back row and they're all rested, you're going to draw 1. And then after the attack concludes, since you're in Legion, you can also use, since you're in Legion and Genovius is on your Vanguard circle, you can still have access to Genovius' Limit Break to counterblast 2 and discard a copy of Genovius and restand all your rear guards. So, really, really, really good. So as you can see, just 7 grade 3s. This has gone all over the place. I've seen some people play only 2 Genovius, or I'll see some people playing 3 of each, but to me 7 works fine, because when I do finally want to go to grade 3, I want to be able to find Miltiades as quick as possible, because you don't want to ride Genovius first. You want to ride Miltiades. I think in all my playtesting there was 1 time I rode Genovius first, but it was because I had 2 Genovius in my hand, and I had no Miltiades to go into, and I just rode it and then pitched to stride. But it's player preference, and I encourage you to try out whatever you want. But 7 grade 3s really seem to work for me. Next, we go to the G zone, or your strides. So first, I play 1 copy of Marine General of Heavenly Scales Tidal Board Dragon. Wow, had a brain fart there. His ability is, when he attacks a Vanguard, and if his attack hits, and it's the 3rd battle of that turn or more, you get to draw 1 card, and then you may select 1 unit from your hand and Superior Call it. Pretty good. He's free, which is why he's in here. A lot of people might play the card from the... if you went to the sneak peek, you got this is the promo, Aristotle, but I don't, just because I don't know. To be honest, I just prefer Tidal Bore, because, well, I'll explain more why here in a second. And then I also play 2 copies of Rain Element Madu. Madhu is really good because if you are in Legion and you stride into Madhu, when Madhu's effect is when he's placed on your Vanguard and you have a heart that has 10,000 or less power, you get to take one grade 3 from your drop zone and add it to your hand. And since you're in Legion and you stride, both cards are considered your hearts, and you do have a heart that has an original power of 10,000 or less, so you can take a grade 3 and add it to your hand. The reason I play 2 Madhu is because it lets me fetch Genovius back. So if I'm planning to use Genovius' skill in my next turn, I can use Madhu to grab back a Genovius if I have one in the drop zone that I've either healed or had to discard to stride or whatever. Next, we play 4 copies of Surging Ripple Padromos. This is the Ripple Stride and also the card that when I saw this, it really made me think of my special friend because of the blue hair, and I don't know why, it just really made me think of him, and I just freaking love this guy's artwork. I just love his battle suit, and you can see the battleship in the background. It just looks epic as hell. But his ability is when this unit attack hits a Vanguard, if you have a heart card with Ripple in its card name, you may G Persona Blast, which is take 1 copy of this from your G zone and turn it face up. And then you may look at the top 5 cards of your deck, search for up to 2 cards with Ripple in its card name from among them, call them to separate rear guards, and then shuffle your deck. So his effect only activates if you hit. And for that reason, for the last card in my G zone is I play 1 copy of Storm Element Blizza. Now, here's why that I don't play Aristotle, and it really doesn't matter if you play Aristotle or not, the card from the sneak peek. Generally, when you stride first, you're going to go straight to Padromos because you're going to stick on the grade 2 game as long as you can, because that's just how this deck is built to be ran. So generally your first stride is always going to be Padromos. And Padromos, the reason you really technically only need 3 copies of him, but I like 4, and here's why. Say I go to Padromos first, I attack, they guard the attack. And so that means that's 1 Padromos got down. So let's say then my next turn I stride into Padromos again, but this time he hits. Well, since he hit, I have to pay a cost of 1 to activate his effect. Now I have 1 Padromos left, and he's kind of pointless in my G zone because he can't use his effect. That's why I play 1 Blizza, so that way I can go to Blizza and then just flip this up for his cost to activate his ability. So that's why I play 4 Padromos. I mean, but in all honesty, guys, there's no point in why you shouldn't have 4 of him because it's not like this card's expensive. On Ideal 808 right now, this card is $2. So it is really not expensive to pick this up. In general, guys, this deck is... There's only, if you look through... This is probably the least flashiest deck I've ever played. It has 1 double rare, 2 double rares, 3 double rares. It has 3 double rares in the deck, and well, technically 7, but only 3 different ones. My Genovius and then both my Sentinels. But this deck is also kind of sneaky expensive, and what I mean by that... Okay, the G zone right here, the Madhus are probably worth more than Padromos. Padromos, guys, you can literally get off Ideal 808 because we had to price check it at my locals Saturday. You can buy him off Ideal 808 right now for $2. He is dirt cheap. Genovius, unfortunately right now, Ideal 808, and most places I've checked, he goes for about $20 to $25. Sometimes you can get one for a little cheaper on eBay, but he's generally going to be around $25. The thing that also is kind of befuddling that I did not realize until I was doing some research. For the ride chain, you obviously need 1 copy of the starter, 4 copies of the grade 1, and then 4 copies of the grade 2. I have seen playsets of the grade 2, the grade 1, and they throw in one starter, and it's like $40. Now that's not so bad by like expensive card standards, but considering all of those cards are rare, I mean, since 5 of them are single rares and the other are commons, that's really, really expensive. But this deck is relatively cheap to build compared to most other decks out there, because Genovius, you're going to spend about 20 to 25 a piece. Miltiades, the legions are rare. You may have to pay a little bit for your Pavroths. You can get play sets of the turtle for $2 on eBay. This is a common. That's part of the ride chain. Quintet walls for Aquaforce are really cheap. You can get Aquaforce trial deck perfect guards that are common that do the same thing. I just play these, so you don't really even need shiny perfect guards. You can get common ones. Odysseus is a rare. Another common. All the triggers are common. So there is not one triple rare in this deck, actually, or even in the G-Zone. It's all double rare and lower. But this deck is, like I said, sneaky expensive. Okay, so I'm going to show you now, guys, the main way this deck kind of flows, I guess you can say. Okay. The one thing that you do not want to be without in your opening hand is you want Sortorio. If you open up with these two in your opening hand, you are pretty much set. But if I open up with these 3 cards right here in my hand, the grade 1 of the ride chain, Odysseus, and Turtle, I am like completely set. So let's say my other ones are Genovius and then some random trigger. This hand right here, I wouldn't even redraw. I would just keep. So let's say this was our hand. First turn is going to be pretty standard. You're just going to ride your grade 1, and you're going to look at the top 7, and you're going to search for your grade 2 or your grade 3 of the ride chain. And if you go first, obviously that's all you can do because you can't attack if you go first. But if you go second, then all you're going to probably do is attack the Vanguard for 8, and that's it. Or if you want, you could, sometimes I do this, so I can get 1 damage out real quick because this is a 15k, and it's pretty hard for your opponent to guard that, even if they're at 8, because if they lay down a 10,000 point shield, that's still 1 to pass. So generally they're going to let this hit. So you can sometimes get lucky and pull a critical trigger and deal 2 damage that early. But let's say then we draw again. So let's say we draw this, just a random card, and we're getting ready to start our turn. We don't have the proper grade 2. This is where we ride Turtle. Turtle's effect. Look at the top card of your deck. If it is a grade 1 or grade 2 spear, call it. Okay, call. Now you could activate Sortorio's effect if you wanted to look at the top 7 cards of your deck for the proper card and ride it. But instead, I would pass on that skill and just do this. Call a card to the rearguard circle. Shove it in the soul. Search your deck for the right grade 2 that you need, which would be Pavroth. Ride it. So now you have the proper grade 2, and since the grade 1 is in your soul, he's at 10,000 power, then Odysseus' skill is going to activate, telling you to take a grade 2, since that's what you rode, out of your soul and superior call it. Superior calling Turtle, giving Turtle plus 2,000 because of Odysseus' skill. Then Turtle's effect activates again. Look at the top card of your deck. If it's a grade 1 or 2 Aquaforce unit, you can call it. So look at the top card of your deck. Oh, grade 1, call. And this is why Odysseus is broke. Because at the whole start of this thing, all we had was this. Ride, check, call this, and then we called our trigger, or just some random card that we can get rid of, moved it to the soul, rode Pavroth, called Turtle out of the soul, gave it plus 2, used his skill a second time, and called another card. So then, use this as the thing's ability to give him another 3,000 power, so essentially he got plus, or at least that's what I do. He got plus 2,000 for being called out of the soul, so he's 9, and then he gets another plus 3, which makes him 12. Okay, so 12 to the Vanguard, 17 to the Vanguard. If they let this card attack hit, stand, plus 3 more, so now he's 15. And then we got 16, since there's 2 or more rested Ripple units, plus 3,000 power, so 19. 17. That's pretty good if you go first and you get to rush your opponent down with that on turn 3. And you're just going to repeat this process again and again and again. So now let's say the very next turn, our opponent's damaged us a little bit. Let's just say they got smart and killed this thing off. Okay. Let's say, okay, we drew another card. Maybe we have a little bit more of a hand because of drive checks. Let's say, okay, I have a grade 3 in my hand. I could go to grade 3 if I wanted to, but instead what I'm going to do is I'm just going to call another card. Activate Odysseus' skill. And move it to the soul, call out and write another Pavroth, and then call something else. Or simply, here's how you can use Turtle. Say we just drew this, and we don't want to ride to grade 3. Activate Odysseus' skill. Turtle to the soul. We're going to search our deck again for another Pavroth. Ride. Odysseus' secondary skill. Since we wrote a grade 2, we superior call a grade 2. Call Turtle right back out. Plus 2,000 power. Use his skill again. Superior call. And then maybe call this and get us another booster. So you can just continually refill your field by just continuing to use Odysseus' skill. Now, what makes this deck so stupid, guys, Gear Chronicle hates this deck. Why? Because Gear Chronicle hates decks that do this because it doesn't allow them to stride. Shadow Paladins hate this deck. Think of every broke Shadow Paladin card you can think of. Diablo, Abyss, the Blaster Dart Diablo and his Generation Break. They can't activate any of those skills until you're at grade 3 too. And if you stick at grade 3, you're going to run them down just because you can continually make these amazing columns and you have no reason to go to grade 3. But say you get your opponent to 5 damage and they have like 4 cards in their hand. And when it's your turn next, you can go, okay, you know what? Now I'll finally ride to grade 3. And then you can finish them off because they won't have enough to deal with, say you decided to Legion. If they only have 4 cards in their hand, or they have a small hand and they're at 5 damage, and say you also have another copy of Genovius in your hand, you're set up pretty well. Now, my favorite formation for the end game is this right here. I like having a Genovius in Legion, and 2 of the Ripple 12Ks in the front row, and if possible, having this in my hand, even if there's another 7K booster right here, I will call this over it, Soul Blast 1 card out, and give plus 3K to one of them. The reason for that is this, watch. Because there's 2 things you can do. Let's just continue with this one, and I'll show you the other thing. Call, Soul Blast out, the 1 card, give plus 3 here. 12, 19 to Vanguard. 12, 19 to Vanguard. Because he's going to gain 3,000 power because there's 2 or more. Well, okay, he won't here because that's not a Ripple. Okay, so I'm sorry, that's my mistake. But, so then you have to make sure you do this the right way because I goofed there. Okay, so let me restart that. Call this, Soul Blast it out, plus 3K right here. 19. Now he'll gain the plus 3 because there's 2 rested Ripple units, 19. Then you're going to go 22, 29, Legion skill, stand, unflip 1 damage. All 3 units in the back are arrested, so draw a card. Do your twin drive after the attack. Counterblast 2, ditch Genovius, stand, stand. So both of these units are standing and they're already sitting at 12 apiece. So 12, 19, his skill activates again because 2 or more Ripple units are rested, so plus 3 more. So that is 12, 19, 22. 22. And this is excluding whatever triggers you checked with Miltiades. Okay, now, let's say we didn't use the Seagull Soldier, because this is generally what's going to determine when I do finally ride to grade 3 what I'm going to do. If I do ride straight to grade 3, then I'm more than likely not going to Legion. What I'm going to do then is Stride. Here's what I like to do. If you know your opponent has a perfect guard, there's no reason to Stride and go into Podromos, because they're going to use that perfect guard to guard Podromos so you don't get extra attacks. That's why you go into Miltiades instead. If you know your opponent does not have a perfect guard, or you strongly suspect they don't, because, you know, sometimes we think they don't, but yet they do. If we go to Podromos, say our field just looked something, it wouldn't even have to be this. Let's say it looked like this. 16. The reason you're attacking with this column first, because then the next time we're going to go 26, 32. Say the attack hits. Flip up a copy of Podromos. Then we're going to look at the top 5 cards of our deck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then what you get to do is you get to go call, get rid of these 2, shuffle these 3 that you didn't pick from back into your deck, and now you have another attack. 19, 19. And this is also not considering that this one may have been powered up because of triggers you pulled from your triple drive. So that's just a couple of things to show you guys about this deck, but it is a lot of fun to play. I really enjoy playing Ripples. They're just a lot of fun. I mean, I really enjoy the deck, guys. It's just a lot of fun. I mean, I really don't know how to say it other than that. It's not a very expensive deck outside of, like I said, the Genoviuses, and then you might have to pay a little extra for your Ripple Ride Chain. But other than that, this deck is real easy to build. It's real simple. And after you play about 3 or 4 games with it, it's pretty easy to get the grasp of, because, I mean, in theory, the deck, it looks like some people might just have a hard time grasping how to properly use it, but it's one of those decks that after you play a couple hands with, it immediately clicks, and you're like, wow, this deck is really good. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this deck profile and analysis of the Ripple deck. I hope the combos helped explain it a little better. But I will say this real quickly, guys. Don't think for one instance this deck is safe. One thing that is really going to hurt this deck is, as of late, a lot of limit break decks are coming back. Because since the grade 2 rush now is so prevalent in the game, because people want to prevent their opponent from striding if they don't feel they're safe, so they just kind of sit on grade 2 and don't do that. That's only smart if you're planning for it and you have the defense to hold. It's not always the right call, because one of the decks that will become viable again once set 5 drops is Chaos Breaker, and Chaos Breaker will keep this deck in check, because Chaos Breaker will still have access to his locking skills without being able, and he won't have to stride in order to get access to all that. So just be mindful that just because this deck is really good, there are still decks that can really hurt it. But anyway, guys, I hope this deck profile and analysis really was informative. So make sure you leave a comment and your thoughts down in the comment section below, and tell me what do you think about the Ripple deck. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. Make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe, thumbs up the video for me. Once we hit 600 subscribers, I will be doing a giveaway. So spread the word, get us more subscribers. Tell your friends who play Vanguard, get them to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.